This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast. And guess what? We are officially in September, so happy September 1st to everybody here celebrating this glorious Monday. Now, it is Labor Day. You might be enjoying the vacation and not listening to this podcast, but if you are listening, thanks so much for tuning in to Setting the Pace, your go-to Pacers podcast. And on today's episode, I've got my good friend Gentry Hudson back on the pod to talk with me about the Pacers, and then we're going to dive into NBA mascots. It's going to be a very fun conversation, and Gentry is chomping at the bit to talk about mascots. But before we do that, we're going to talk some Pacers. So I guess this is a little teaser here, but G-Man, how are you doing? How are you feeling about the Indiana Pacers this upcoming season?
Yeah, talking to you before the show even started. Love seeing all the guys are in together, keeping the camaraderie together from last season. Seeing Pascal getting the reps in with Jarace. Some of the funny stuff too, like the whole, I guess I'm the captain now. I'd love just seeing Pascal keep kind of that positive energy throughout the offseason. I've loved Tyrese's side quest where he's ranking the Pacers jerseys, streaming things. He's talking about the Marvel movies. It just feels like they're such a lovable team, and in spite of what's happened, they've kept that going. And I'm excited for a little bit of an Empire Strikes Back type of year from them, where we're going to get to see the Furphy kind of do some things, out there and get to do a little more of what he loves. And I've been seeing some Nimhard MIP picks, so it's going to be a fun kind of B-side year for us with some deep cuts for the diehards. So, in light of everything that's happened, we're going to get to see three centers that we never even got to see all last year make their debut. There's so much to get excited for. And so, I don't know if we'll be hosting Larry at the end of the year, but I can tell you we'll be hosting a lot of great memories, I think, here on Setting the Pace and with the rest of Pacers Nation.
All right, you gave me a lot to go off there. So we'll start things off with what you said at the beginning, and that is Pascal Siakam had Jarace Walker down in Orlando to work out at his training facility to do some one-on-one work together. And there's a video that he posted about 2.5 minutes long, 3 minutes, I forget what it was. But I think it was called like Snatched or something like that, or Snatch It. I can't remember what the actual title of the video was, but it was really cool to see them work together and Pascal just giving Jarace a lot of instruction on how to be decisive about the moves he's going to make. So when you see Jarace working out with Pascal for a couple of days in Orlando, what does that do to you as a fan, knowing Jarace is so young?
For me, I think a little bit of like Granger kind of being like, Obi-Wan and Anakin with Paul George for a little bit there, where there's just some time where Paul George had to marinate a little bit. Danny was the guy. And like,
hold on a second. Did you just compare Paul George to Anakin Skywalker?
I did. I mean, because he did turn to the dark side, as we all know.
That's a great comparison. I just love it.
Great apprentice of Danny Danger, as we all know. Beloved a lot like you and McGregor. Just an all in all wholesome mullet pacer that we all love. And you just have to be there for that Danny run. But like, it kind of just reminds me a little of that, where it's like this young guy comes in as a lottery pick, respects the vet, actually listens to him, understands what he is, and pulls some of his game into his. And I get a little bit of that. Maybe it's me projecting it a little bit, but that's what I like to think of it as. A little bit of a continuation of an elder statesman, just kind of rubbing off a little of his game. It's nice that we kind of get them into the two windows. I think about like how they really wanted that out in Golden State. They wanted the two timelines with, Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody. But I feel like with the Pacers, we aren't necessarily getting two timelines. I think it's more so they're just kind of merging timelines at the right time with this buffer year to better round things out.
I want to talk about what you just said, though, because Paul George and Jarace, it's so funny because a couple episodes ago we had a mailbag podcast and someone asked about Jarace and they gave a hot take, and I really appreciated their thoughts on everything. But I was like, Paul George had a breakout year in year 3, and this is year 3 for Jarace, and like, look at this opportunity he has in front of him because of Tyrese being out. It's one main player out of the rotation. Miles leaves for the Bucks, and now you do have Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson kind of center by committee, but that doesn't really change that fact. So now you've got a guy in Jarace who should easily be slotted into the 10-man rotation with a much, much bigger opportunity to kind of prove himself this year. Don't think he's going to have maybe the Paul George year 3 breakout like we saw, but I think we could see him break out and maybe be more of a consistent player than he was last year. So if that's the case, in terms of Jarace being a consistent player, what are you wanting to see from him as a fan in terms of his overall game?
So I think what's nice is like Tyrese would really have to facilitate a lot of ball movement around the team, and I think that he'll be able to kind of place himself as like like a cog turning the wheels, so to speak, within the offense, helping keep things flow. So I really hope he's able to kind of like take a lot of his great passing and kind of just build on it, which I know that's an oddly specific thing, like relative to his defense or scoring more. He was always in the right spots when we needed maybe a three and stuff, so he knew where to go. And so I just look for more of that to kind of evolve. It's more like the plus, minus, intangible type things, just understanding where guys are and just developing the basketball IQ. Like he improved last year. I am really sad that we did not get to see him in the finals, because I will say I was impressed with him a little bit during the Cavs series specifically. I just felt like we could kind of see some glimpses of what he could be. And so I think there's like less of an expectation or pressure maybe on some of these games or how some things might go. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get in the feel for it and get a better sense of like the rhythm and the flow of the offense as the year goes on with his passing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does too, because I think there's a lot of talent there that fits the style they want to play. I just think it's a matter of putting it all together. And this to me feels like the perfect opportunity for him to do that. Now, another name that you mentioned in there was the Furfinator. I have to ask, what were your thoughts on the slam dunk he had in Summer League over Essengay, where Essengay gave the most incredible reaction ever for a dunk? And then what are your thoughts on his upcoming year, and what do you expect from him?
So I think it's, man, this is so hard it's a difficult needle to thread. So like one thing I will say is it was great seeing how much muscle that he put on and how like open he was with attacking the lane and things like that in the Summer League. Love seeing all of that. I think what's hard is he just saw a limited run at the end of games last year. And so like there's some times where it's like, is he awake? We need to, splash some water on him. And there might be some moments like that this year, but like you just need to get that time on the court to get there. And so I think this year is kind of a great holdover year or an excuse to just let him do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his confidence will grow as the season goes, as long as like Rick gives him a good leash, and lets him have a little bit of liberty. But really, I think we don't really have enough tape or things to understand what to expect. But like, they said that when Self was recruiting him from Australia, he was almost more excited to have him come over than any prospect that he had ever got to see or have the chance to develop. And I still think that it's a diamond in the rough type of deal. I think this just gives him the room to kind of prove that theory right. Mm-hmm. He just needs time on the court, and he didn't get enough of that last year.
And it's a rookie, so like especially with a team going to the finals, like a rookie getting
as deep as we were,
yeah. So like I think a lot of people would even kind of pencil him as the 11th guy going into the next year, and we'll see if he can crack into the top 10, which I've predicted that I think he will on different podcasts. But that's just me projecting, because I believe in Johnny Furphy, and I think it's weird that we've heard from a handful of people in the front office and the coaching staff that they view Johnny Furphy as Ben Shepherd-esque. And it's like, who do you think they put more value into long term? I don't know. But they did have Johnny Furphy 14th on their big board, and I'm pretty sure that's higher than where they had Ben Shepherd the year before, even though they might have drafted him later in terms of being a second-round pick. That just is interesting to me. Now, you said diamond in the rough. Facci made a joke a couple of weeks ago with Chad Buchanan and said it's a diamond in the huff. And I know you're a big Jay Fost kind of guy, Jeff Foster. So Jay Fost is your man, is your new man on the Pacers, Jay Huff.
Honest to God, the 2K ratings, when those came out, I honestly just wondered what was wrong. Like the fact they put him with a higher Rock rating than Rudy Gobert, like I have loved seeing these dunk highlights. Like Tyrese tweeting his enthusiasm got me even more excited. Like I love what I'm seeing like in the practice videos, but like with NBA offseason practice videos, we've seen, Ben Simmons making a boatload of threes. We've seen Luka Doncic looking scrawny. Like it's just one of those things where if you've been through enough NBA off seasons on Twitter where you just see these things out of context in the gym, like they foster false enthusiasm and generate the PR agents love. And so for me, I'm just like, well, like he was on a great setup with Denver, and he was on a great setup probably with Memphis with not a lot of competition. And so, like, I'm hoping that it's more Ijax spotlight. I like him as
Not a lot of
insurance.
competition. Hold on a second. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey aren't competition?
I would say with how Edey couldn't stay on the court and with Jackson's injuries, it wasn't necessarily like
that's still, it's like a first-round draft pick at like number 9, and you're talking about another first-round draft pick in the top 5. Like, come on now.
I know.
That's competition.
I'm like an Edey doubter a little bit too, though. And
but they're not. They took him 9th overall. Come on now. I got to push back on you just because.
I know.
Jay Huff definitely deserved playing time when he got it, but I think that it was more so just like two valuable centers in front of him.
Yeah.
But he is a little bit of a he's been on a different team every year since he's been in the league. So that he's a journeyman. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be skeptical. I'm just saying I had to correct that because you were like, I don't know why he was behind the centers in Memphis. Like, well, they have 2 highly prioritized centers ahead of them.
Centers. Yeah, it was a weird year for them too. Like, I just remember like Scottie Pippen Jr. getting so much run at the start of the year from them, and then he wasn't, and it was just a weird environment. So I kind of view a weird environment like that with different things and players coming and going on and off the injury like list as like an environment where maybe if you're a deeper cut, like you have more opportunities. So I guess lack of competition wasn't the best way, but I thought he might be in a unique scenario to like if he was gonna turn some heads, like it might have been there. But like, here's my thing: I have not watched any Memphis Grizzlies games. I have not watched any of his time on the Nuggets. I have not watched the basketball game with Jay Huff on the court. I don't know enough to hold a proper opinion, and it could just be where he just needed the right place. He needed the right team. He needed the right play style, and this could be it, where maybe he is top 10 in blocks, and 2K is like predicting it.
They know.
Yeah.
They know what's to come. They know what happens when you get traded to the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
Breakout is about to happen.
I loved his energy though. So like, as skeptical or whatever as I might have sounded and everything, he just seems like he is a good culture fit, that he'll fit right in right away with what environment we want in the locker room, what we want in the practices, what we want with the hustle. And he'll be able to stretch and dunk and get some of those balls and those tips that will not necessarily, I think, make losing Miles easier, but like I will say that like if you put anyone next to Tyrese, they're gonna look substantially, better. Yeah. And so I will say I'm interested to see the Tyrese effect on him 15 months out from now.
Well, the good thing about him is he's got a contract like he's under contract the next 3 years at a minimum deal. So it's like, what happens if he does break out? Like, that's a really great contract to have.
Oh, I know.
Even if he's just a backup, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm intrigued by him as well. So it'll be fascinating to see. I know you mentioned Isaiah Jackson is like somebody you want to see maybe flourish in that starting role. And I get it. I think Jackson probably has a higher upside than Jay Huff. I just think fit-wise, Huff might make more sense as a starter. So I'll be curious to see who wins the starting center battle. But based on pay, you would assume it's Isaiah Jackson because he got about twice as much in terms of what he got contract-wise. So that's the only argument I would have. Now, I think you're okay if we put a lid on the Pacers talk.
I will say that I'm like really pumped for Wiseman. I can't wait to actually see a full season of Wiseman. So I have to make sure I got that in. I don't know why, but I'm wondering why they like brought him back and everything too, with everything happening. And like I do sometimes like redemption stories of sorts. I just have to comment there. I don't know if I'm on Wiseman Island, if there even is a Wiseman Island or anything like that, or like
you can be the captain.
I'm at Wiseman La Quinta, where I'm still here. I don't even know if he has an island. He might just have like a La Quinta, off a Midwest interstate shoulder somewhere, and I'm there on Wiseman La Quinta corner. Maybe I'm there. I will say it's just I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how this goes with him, and I just like that they brought. I think it's cool that they brought him back. When like an injury or something like that happens. What I liked was Isaiah and him were able to kind of console Tyrese a little bit too about that like eagerness to get back. So I think it is kind of a weirdly kind of, I guess, timing type of thing where we have these two guys that understand what Tyrese has gone through and they're able to kind of support him as he's sorting through it. Like they'll be able to empathize with him. I think it's cool that it's not cool that anybody had these injuries, but you know what I'm saying though, that he has two of these bigger guys that he'll be able to talk about his experience with as the season goes and as the recovery transpires.
And it's also good for the Pacers to kind of be able to experiment a little bit with what the recovery time is like for the Achilles injury. Not experiment, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, tinker. I don't know, just observe.
Tinker.
Clipboard.
Got me excited for some coffee now.
I know.
Oh.
Shout out the tinker. Almost as beloved as TJ McConnell here in the metropolitan area.
Yeah. I don't know if Tinker's as loved as TJ McConnell, but they need to be loved as much as Tinker McConnell, as TJ McConnell.
If Tinker hears this, Tinker, we need you to make a TJ blend. Like this is a shout out for y'all. If this gets out to you, we need a TJ blend or something inspired, like a number 9 brew.
He did have a sponsorship with Jack's Donuts for a hot minute, but I think it ended.
That's what I'm saying, Tinker. We're all calling for the high energy of TJ McConnell to be poured into our coffee cups like the Tinker coffee. Like it's just the perfect energy that your brand probably wants to represent. I don't know if this goes anywhere, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know if that guy has espressos before games, but I mean, if you're trying to get me to have espressos, saying I could be like TJ McConnell, my corporate cubicle would get me to probably buy your product and navigate Excel with some earnest enthusiasm. So
yeah, no, maybe we can pull some strings over there. I will say this, Tinker, if you're looking for a sponsorship for a Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace would be glad to have you. And we'd be glad to promote Tinker because I am a faithful goer. I go about every single day if I can. And, you know, I get coupons in my emails for 20% off for being such a loyal customer. Like that's how often I go. They're begging to give me my money back because I spend so much there. So
if you're listening, y'all, we didn't discuss this before the show. This is pure love too. So I hope you know this if this is on your car's Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah. I mean, you told me how much you love Dunkin' Donuts. And I said, well, you know, and you said they're not Tinker, but you know, it's just that nostalgic, mediocre love that you have for Dunkin' you can't get away from. And I said, you know, Tinker's the real deal. You can't get any much better than that. But I think we can officially now put a lid on this conversation and transition into what you asked me if we could do, and that is do a mascot draft of NBA mascots. And so since this is your idea, I will kind of let you explain your obsession with NBA mascots and why you have been begging to do this on the podcast.
Oh, okay. I was really hoping, like, this is my moment. Like, this is my time. If I was on an NBA podcast about anything, I can pick one topic. Like, this is kind of it. Like, I have just been waiting for this Broadway moment, man. You have no idea. So, I would say, like, for me,
don't give any spoilers away because we got to do a draft.
No spoilers. What really got me into it is, like, one of my first Pacers games, they have the Game Time books. And they used to be full-on magazines. And, I mean, it was so funny. You flip through all the pages of all the players, and at one point they had Boomer and Bowser. And they have, like, their favorite, you know, music. Like, Bowser, the Pacers' former mascot, like Nothing But a Hound Dog. And I just thought that was funny, where it's like, you know, they have everybody's favorite song on the Pacers roster, but then they are also acknowledging, like, whoever is in those suits as if they are real Pacers teammates with the rest of the team. So it probably started there, but y'all, like, what was really cool was when NBA Jam, the remake came out in probably 2010, as you went across the NBA and would beat teams, if I'm recalling right, you would unlock the different mascots. And so I would have so much fun throwing down, you know, with Rick Smits and Boomer on the NBA Jam remake. So a lot of it stems from early memories, a little bit of that mediocre Midwest nostalgia you're talking about with the Dunkin' Donuts, where it makes me think of NBA Jam. It makes me think of old Game Time magazines with Bowser, and like just like the shared collective effort to keep whatever this industry or thing is going within the NBA, and just the dedicated craftsmanship league wide to like really flesh out whoever is in these suits to appear like all over the community and stuff. I can't wait to get into it.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to do a snake draft here to build our starting 5 plus a 6th man. So we're going to draft 12 mascots out of a possible. Now, you might think there's 30, but there's actually only 26 mascots in the NBA currently, or only 26 teams that have mascots. Some do have duplicates. There are 4 teams that do not have a mascot at all. And Gentry knew these off the top of his head as soon as I asked him. I was not sure who they were. But Gentry, would you like to tell the listeners what snobby teams do not have mascots?
Yep. And this is kind of sad because one of these teams at one point did have a mascot. So we did kind of just got to have our moment. For the longest time, like the Warriors had this mascot from probably like 97 through 07. It was like I'm trying to think of what his name was. The former Warriors mascot. The Warriors had a mascot. The Knicks have not ever had a mascot. The Brooklyn Nets had the Brooklyn Knight, but retired him and have not had a mascot since. And the former Warriors mascot that I'm trying to recall went by the name of Thunder. And so Thunder is no longer with us. Brooklyn Knight is no longer with us. And so do feel bad for these markets. You know, they are bigger markets. I don't know why they don't have mascots. It's truly their loss. But if you're listening for the four, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Golden State Warriors.
All right, so I'm looking it up here, and it looks like the Lakers used to have a mascot back in the day. Like Dancing Barry, they tried it, an unofficial sideline dancer named Dancing Barry in the 1960s, where a giraffe was featured in team programs, but that was not official. So it looks like the Lakers are just kind of like, we're too good for that. We've got the Laker girls, and that's kind of their mascot, I guess. And they're known for having like celebrities at every game, so they don't feel like they need a mascot. Maybe that's how the Knicks feel with having celebrities at every game. So maybe like Timothy Chalamet or
and Ben Stiller. I would love Ben Stiller as my mascot.
Yeah. Well, we can honestly say that these teams in New York could desperately use a mascot, especially if they want to make it to the NBA Finals. But looks like that won't be in the cards. Maybe the Knicks can make the finals this year. We'll see. I mean, I think they're very probably their best chance since '99 to make the finals. So they don't have a whole lot of competition in the Eastern Conference. But all right, let's get down to business to defeat the Hun. No, I'm just kidding. Do you want the first pick or the second and third pick in our draft?
Oh man. There's two that I really, really want to ensure are on my final roster. So I'm gonna let you have the first pick. This is a calculated risk.
Okay. Well, do I go Homer here and pick Boomer because that's the Pacers guy, or do I go with probably the most popular? I think I'm going to have to go with the most popular. I'm taking Benny the Bull.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Give me your Benny lore. Have you read up on Benny? Do you have more details to share regarding Benny? Is there any niche trivia or facts that you have in regards to his bullhood?
What I know about Benny is all I know from NBA's NBA.com's website. That says, over the years, the Benny family has shown us several looks and styles that reflected the life and culture of the time they lived and performed in today. Benny can be seen at events all over the Chicagoland area, keeping up with the latest trends on social media and entertaining fans right at home in the United Center. That's from Bulls.com. I don't have anything else.
Oh, dude, he was ejected in the Western Conference Finals. He was ejected by Earl Storm for interacting on the court. So he got thrown out. You can look up the photos of it. It almost looks like he's being taken out by the fuzz or something. It is pretty wild too. And he looked a lot less friendly when he was kicked out. It's wild reading him getting kicked out of the Western Conference Finals for the Chicago Bulls at the Milwaukee Arena in '74, which I think is hilarious. That was a Western Conference Finals at one point.
Now I will say he did make the Mascot Hall of Fame in 2017.
So what I traditionally love with him though is they'll do this thing too at the games where they'll have him carrying around an industrial sized thing of popcorn, and they'll typically plant another fan and a different t-shirt, and he'll just completely unload the whole thing of popcorn on him, which I think is just so obnoxious. I enjoy that. I think it's pretty funny. And then to his credit, he was kind of a pioneer. I think he might have been the first mascot in the league. He started at Chicago Stadium in 1969.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about being an OG mascot, he fits that bill. And I think he's known kind of worldwide because he was synonymous with The Last Dance and Jordan and Pippen and Rodman. He is right there with all of them. And so, I think out of all the mascots, when you say the most popular, it is fitting just because, he's synonymous with probably some of the greatest basketball teams we've ever seen during that Bulls run.
That's why I had to pick him. I I think he's the most popular one out of all of them. But he's probably not my favorite. But if I'm going off of popularity, I would pick Benny the Bull. Okay, so who do you have
Yeah.
at your first pick?
Oh, like this was so easy, so easy. I was holding my breath. I'm going with the Phoenix Gorilla.
Yes, he's in my
Um,
top 4.
oh my word, love Gorilla. So what I love how much, like what I love so much about him is that he was initially there at the game to deliver a telegram for like I think the company was called The Onion or something like that. And this isn't from like the media outlet The Onion. Um, it was the name of the telegram service that he was doing his work for. And what happened is he delivers this telegram to a fan during the game, and the security's like, "Hey, you're pretty funny. You should stand behind like the goal and just dance." And like everybody just loved this dude in the gorilla suit that was just there at the telegram company, and so they just kept it going. And he just kept showing up the games, and they kept letting him do his thing. And there is no ties to the city of Phoenix. There isn't like some ad agency or PR business that tried to like, make the gorilla a thing that would flare some pop. He wasn't like made in the lab. It just happened by magic happenstance, and it just became something that the team embraced and adopted. And that's just something I miss these days, where almost everything is perfectly cut out and made and surveyed and group tested. And this dude is just out delivering telegrams. Like, I don't even know if half the people listening to this even know what telegrams are, but he was just out doing a singing telegram. And then he became a beloved face of the Phoenix Suns in that whole area. So I love him. I think he's hilarious. He's my number 2. He's my first pick.
Yeah, he's your first pick. I think it's a great pick. And I was reading the story as you were talking about it. I pulled it up on Google, and it is exactly what you said. So it's
Henry Rojas. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have another pick. What is your next?
Oh, yeah. I'm going opposite spectrum here of old and new, and I'm actually going with Chuck the Condor.
Okay.
You know where Chuck's from? You know Chuck's lore, anything like that?
You're gonna have to tell me.
No? Okay, I've actually met Chuck. It was a wild night in New Orleans, man. I'm there for Pierre's birthday. It's Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans playing Spencer Dinwiddie in the Nets, and a fairly cheap setup. I got lower bowl for like 33 during this run. And I'm telling you, when I talk about Chuck being out of control, I'm like their pregame for Pierre's party. And I look at like the ramp up and down the seats. Like, I'm trying to think of how to put it. What's it called? Not the ramp, but like the railing right next to the seats that people use to come up and down. Dude, and Chuck is like just standing up, free soloing down the middle of it. So I call out. I'm like, Chuck, what's up, man? Like, can I get your photo? And it's so funny, but I had this couple take a photo of me and Chuck, and like it threw him off because somebody knew who he was in New Orleans, and the couple thought that like Chuck was the guy in the suit, not the actual like Condor himself. And so they were like really confused because they thought I was catching up with like an old college buddy or something.
That's
so
funny.
love getting to meet him. But then what's even cooler is down with the new Intuit Dome that they've opened down in LA, there is an app that you have to download to get into the game, where it will scan your face, and your face serves as like your ticket. It's good for picking up your food and order into the game. It literally gets you around with this similar face identification technology that's on your phone throughout the arena, which sounds a little bit eerie, but to get your tickets set up and everything, they have a little Check the Condor that's a little bit like the Microsoft Clippy paperclip that is like your guide for setting up your ticket and your game day experience. So it's very Steve Ballmer inspired, which I think is funny, is that they made Chuck kind of like the old Microsoft Clippy as your guide to a Clippers game day. And then even within the arena, he is just supposed to be this super cool, like Tony Hawk type dude that does stunts. He has knee pads on. He has like a helmet. So he's kind of like Tony Hawk in that one sense, but he's also kind of like Evel Knievel, where he's doing these wild jumps on his bikes. So I just love how much of a complete freak he is, just like such a nutty daredevil. I mean, whether it is in New Orleans or it is in your Intuit Dome mobile app, like he is there for the people. And it was pretty funny. They had like these big cups. I'm trying to think. There's like this Disney on Ice, like Disney World type of cup that was Chuck that you could get at the game. I think it's just hilarious.
How do you know all this stuff?
The knee pads. NBA Jam, and then wanting to know the lore. I mean, you're playing the game as these characters. It's just like, how did they get here?
How long has Chuck the Condor been around?
Yeah, this is tough. Let's look at Chuck's birthday because they have birthdays for all the mascots every year.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause they always celebrate Boomer's birthday.
February 29th, 2016.
So he's very young.
Pretty young, and he wears Chuck Taylors. I forgot to mention that Chuck wears Chucks, which is even better.
Well, I think it's interesting. He has a 10-foot wingspan.
Really,
What they
man.
said.
See, I don't want to spoil some of the other mascot lore, but there's more I want to get into in terms of like some of these mascot measurements. We probably better let you get to the fourth pick so that way I can share a little more. But I like the wingspan, the Chucks, the clippy stuff. It's all great. It's gonna be tough to follow Chuck up. I'm just saying, between Chuck and the gorilla, I don't know really where you go.
Oh,
I mean, who else skateboards or delivers telegrams? I mean, really, how can you beat skateboarding and telegrams with the next pick? What can one up those? I mean, outside of picking Boomer on a Pacers
podcast. the power pack crew. We're talking about a 6-foot high flying 00 Boomer. Been around since 1984. I think he was officially brought into the Pacers in 91, but was Boomer the Pacer in 1984, excuse me. So, you know, and if you know anything about Boomer, he is very agile. He's going to be hard to keep locked up on defense. So,
and I will say, before I knew Conseco, before I knew Gamebridge, I just knew the field house as Boomer's house, where before I could attend games, I had some nights where I was in Indy on Sundays, and we'd go to White Castle for chicken rings. And then after White Castle, we'd want to go by Boomer's house on the drive home. And we'd drive the car probably 8 miles an hour and watch Boomer and the Pacers team store slowly turn. And I'm just saying that, like, to be introduced to a mascot, you know, what better than to just have it as the face of your team story, if you know what I'm trying to get at, like that pronounced. It was pretty cool. And they had that in the arena for a bit. I'm glad it's at the Children's Museum now. But when I go back to what got me into mascots, I will say Boomer was kind of the gateway.
Can I give you a funny story?
Yeah.
So I was probably about 3 or 4 years old, and I think my parents had taken my sister to like the haunted house of the Children's Museum.
No way.
Back in the day. And it was very kid friendly, whatever. But I was easily startled as a baby. And I was like 1 or 2 years old, 3 years old maybe. And this is a story that I mostly remember from my parents telling me about this more than I actually remember the whole thing. But they said Boomer was there, and he came up behind me to say hi to me. I screamed like a baby. I freaked out. My mom said it took me like hours to get calmed down because he startled me so bad. I was so shook up. And so now when I see Boomer, I get a little nervous. I think I still have PTSD from seeing Boomer, but I think I'd be more intimidated if he was on the opposite team than my team.
I mean, I would be freaked out too because he's broken a backboard at a local high school. Like, he literally took a goal out like Shaq in the 90s. I mean, I don't know if there's many other mascots that can say they completely shattered a rim or some glass like our beloved Cat. But, like, I think that's an iconic thing too. Or I think that might have been, was that ever on Sports Center? Like, is that like a Sports Center #1?
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me look at this. Breaks, backboard. Sports Center. He might have been one of the few mascots to have a #1.
He's a great dunker. Play. This is great podcasting.
This is great podcast. It's peak NBA offseason. Okay, I can't find whether or not it was placed on Sports Center's top 10, but y'all, if you are just listening to this, check it out. It is great just watching the horror of the high schoolers that were not in any way prepared to have, you know, this cat visit their school and like conduct property damage, and he did. So,
yeah. Well, we need to get this moving here. So
okay.
my next pick is someone I don't think you like, based on maybe some comments you made earlier. I'm going with Rocky from the Denver Nuggets.
That was a sleeper pick. No, I wanted Rocky.
I think Rocky's a great pick. I mean, this is a guy that actually did this for 33 years as their mascot, and now his son is doing it. So I believe it was Drake Solomon is his son, but I'm trying to think who his dad was. Ken Solomon. Ken Solomon is his the man that portrayed Rocky for 33 years. Okay, then his son ended up taking over. His son's name is Drake. But you're talking about a guy. I mean, Rocky is one of the most entertaining of all the mascots. I mean, This is a guy that shoots half-court shots from a ladder. He jumps off rims. He performs on stilts. He's had multiple
he
injuries.
makes $625,000 annually for a reason. Like, if we look at the highest paid mascots, you have Rocky at $625K, Harry the Hawk at $600K, Benny at $400K, the Gorilla at $200K. I mean, like, this guy is bringing in the cash for a reason. I don't know if it's the leather jacket he adorns on the motorcycle. I don't know if it's the joy he puts in the hearts of children. But like, he's been able to withstand Jokic's love for horses. Like, he hasn't been replaced, and in spite of them having possibly a top 10 NBA player on their roster love horses, he's been able to remain consistent.
Yeah, I think my 3 right now are competing pretty well for your 2.
Oh, I know, and the fans are probably gonna be polarized by my next pick. They're not gonna like this a lot.
Are you going with the Pelican?
No. We're going to go out to a dark, stormy night out in the Arbuckle Mountains. You know where the Arbuckle Mountains are located?
Is this Utah?
No, we're going out to the Arbuckle Mountains of Oklahoma City, where there is a bison struck by lightning, saving his herd. He was saving his herd, and he was granted the ability to play the drums, and he was chosen to represent the Oklahoma City Thunder as he was struck by lightning, So I think it's great. It was actually something where when they were unveiling him, they dropped him from the scoreboard there at the Chesapeake Arena, just completely smashing the drums like he was in Zeppelin or something like that. The whole idea of just an ordinary bison being struck by lightning, granted these powers, and then bringing it into an NBA arena, I think is great. But if we are talking about Rumble the Bison, I do have to bring up the Hoosier Bison. He probably had a better entrance this weekend. I'm down in Bloomington, Indiana, probably 10 or 12 rows from the field. It is opening week of Hoosiers football. And it is just something else. There's all these Hoosiers fans with like these Signetti shirts that look like cigarettes, like Signetti cigarette shirts.
Marlboro.
And like there's actual t-shirts for sale that say football school. And like, I'd not been down to that region for a hot minute, and the euphoria, the tailgating, all of it was alive and real. They have the national anthem, they have the marching band all come out, people are ready to go, and all of a sudden Metallica's Enter Sandman comes on, and a white speck appears in the cloud, like right above the sky, and lo and behold, it is the Hoosier Bison jumping from a plane to serenade the Hoosier faithful here in Indiana. So I would just say, by association, he is likely a cousin of this bison out with the Thunder. I mean, I don't really understand how you can be like an anthropic bison that stands on 2 feet and not be related to another bison that stands on 2 feet. I think,
he may have traveled and got lost here after the finals.
The finals? Well, yeah, I don't know. But I will just say, though, he was an altruist. The fact that, he took the hit to save the other bison in the herd, I think he is well deserving of his current title. Not NBA title, just title as mascot, because I just feel like he probably would have thrown elbows at Boomer and not really drawn real contact, but fell over and emulated another person that wears a Thunder jersey. I won't get too specific. I don't think anyone knows who I'm talking about, but
well, we need to keep it moving after Rumble. So who's your next pick?
Okay. So far, let's just do a quick update for the listeners. So on my team, I have Gorilla, Check the Candor, and then I've Rumble the Bison. Those are my 3. And you have Boomer, Rocky, and Benny, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let me look at my board. Let me look at my board here. This is difficult because I am sad about some of the mascots we've lost. I'm sad about the loss of Hip Hop, the bunny out in Philly. I'm sad about losing Squatch out in Seattle. We have lost some of the good and faithful over the years, so hats out to them. I think I'm going with the Spurs San Antonio Coyote. The Spurs Coyote.
Make sure you kind of enunciate that one more time for our listeners, just in case I didn't catch that they say Coyote differently with his name.
The Spurs Coyote. The Spurs Coyote, the official mascot of the Spurs, dating back to '83, with a listed height the same as David Robinson. repping the 2 and the exclamation point. Like I love 2-1, the big fundamental, Tim Duncan. I think he encapsulates what you should look for in your franchise player. And I think, the Coyote very similarly represents what you'd like to see in a mascot. I think he's great. He survived the bat fight with Manu Ginobili. And it's funny, he was created by a guy named Tim Dirk, and he was the guy that actually invented the T-shirt cannon. Okay. So without him bringing his tail down to the Riverwalk, we might not have the T-shirt cannon technology in which we just see many people lose their marbles for these days. Here's my thing. This is a hot take. I don't want the T-shirts a lot of times at the games. I want to declutter my home. I don't want extra T-shirts. I caught one once and it had a Verizon logo on it. But I love seeing the glee people have for T-shirt cannons. And without the Coyote and his David Robinson height, we might not have T-shirt cannons at games. So Coyote is on my list. He's on my list. And I'm just saying, so far, I have like a bird that can skate, an altruistic bison. I have a gorilla that does telegrams, and I have the guy that created T-shirt cannons. I think that's still a pretty tough lineup.
I will say he was on my top 4.
Top 4. Oh wow.
He was number 4 for me. I didn't get to him yet.
Sorry. The one that got away.
Rocky and Benny the Bull were ahead of him. And then at number 5 I had Gorilla. So your 4 and 5 are on your team. That were on mine. So I did not have Chuck, the Candor, on my top 10. Or Rumble, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I like the backstory. I had a hard time picking anybody from OKC or Milwaukee.
I love Bango. Him flipping off that ladder.
Oh, don't even say that.
Yeah,
I love Bango the Buck.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you see how bad he got booed at Boomer's birthday? It was 2 years ago, I think.
It was a tough time to be Bango. I mean, he was getting the Paul George, Victor Oladipo treatment. I recall that. All
right. So are we up for my next pick?
Yeah, next pick. Here we go. I'm sorry, I'm like deep studying too, because I gotta prepare for I'm at 4 and you're at
3. I got 2 picks left, and then you got 1. So we got 3 picks left. Well, technically we both have 3 picks left because no, wait a second. We're doing 6. So I've got 3, you've got 2 left. So my next pick from the Salt Lake City, we're going with Jazz Bear.
Okay.
Tell me what you know about Jazz Bear.
I know that he came about during the Stockton Malone heyday.
94 was when he debuted.
Get this. When the Utah Hockey Club, before they became, the what's the hockey team's name? They just got their NHL team. He was substitute mascot for the Utah Hockey Club. I need to look at their name. They were going to be the Utah Yetis, and they are now
the Mormons. I'm just kidding.
No, not the Mormons. They're the Utah Mammoth. But before they were the Mammoth, their years, this mascot spotted for the hockey team. So I think it's wild that he's bilingual. He can speak hockey and football, work his way around some skates, got to see John Stockton. If I was to be a Bear stuck in a city, rather than be at a zoo, I think I would like to be around, the Jazz and I guess the Mammoth, where I get to see John Stockton, Andre Kirilenko, and then the introduction of an NHL team in my lifetime to get to be a part of all of that. I mean, to see the Deron Williams, Jerry Sloan beef, I mean, he's been around for some things. He was there for the Jordan shot. I mean, he was there for Gordon Hayward. I'm just saying, if I'm a Bear observing things, not quite Yogi, not quite Smokey, but still, I respect all that he's encountered in his days there.
So I'm just going to say this from their team page.
Okay.
Jazz Bear has been wowing audiences since 1994, when he first debuted by rappelling down from a catwalk high above the court. In the hundreds of games since, he has only increased the intensity of his stunts, whether he's flying down the concourse steps on a plastic sled or doing a handstand on top of a 20-foot ladder at center court. He continues to entertain fans of all ages. That's pretty impressive. And if you see this picture they posted, it's him riding a motorcycle.
Well, he's done an ATV too. He had an incident where he flipped an ATV and landed safe with a gymnast poise. But
he can do a lot.
I mean, I love playing ATV off-road Fury, but to be on an ATV as a bear, holy crap.
So I really do think I think him and Boomer together could be our Neesmith Nimhard.
No, I mean, you got the ATV and you got the Panther prowling setting the pace. I mean, if you had an IndyCar and an ATV coming at me with a bear and a puma, man, like, I don't want to be anywhere near that scene. I mean, I don't know what I would even draft in defense of that. That's difficult.
Hey, so everyone needs a little bit of a guy that ruffles feathers, whether that's throwing a cake in somebody's face or not. And we're going to go with the Orlando Magic's mascot with my last starter, Stuff. Did I steal your pick?
You're stealing my pick.
I mean, this guy backflips off of a 16-foot ladder. He shoots signature shots, backwards from half court. He does the silly string stuff as well. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, this is one of the funniest, yet biggest troll mascots in all of the NBA.
Okay, so here's the thing with this guy. They had his debut on a street corner. It was a public event in which they had a live stuff hatching. Like he popped out of the egg, like a raptor or something like that. So I mean, the fact that he hatched in the streets of Toronto, I think, is great. The fact that he has a dragon lair in the arena is kind of cool. And I just remember him hopping out on the hoverboard and winning an NBA dunk contest alongside Aaron Gordon. I mean, if you're an NBA diehard, you remember that. The 2010 finals, he dyes us for blue. And then he also, I think he asked Kate Upton out, which I don't know of any other mascots that we've talked about, have asked out like a Sports Illustrated model. It kind of gets weird when you get into that. But the fact that he shot his shot, not just from behind his back at half court, but with that level of celebrity in a public venue, bold move by our man Stuff.
All right. Well, there's my starting five: Benny the Bull, Boomer, Rocky, Jazz Bear, and Stuff. You have one more to fill out your starting five, and then give me a 6-man.
This is like picking my favorite kid, like legit. I know we were hating on Banga, but he fought Robin Lopez with the lightsaber. Which I mean, the fact that that happened. I mean, that's pretty cool. We didn't even get into it with Rocky. Rocky got sucker punched by Barkley and lives to tell, which I think was great. I'm going to be real with you, though. I'm glad he's still here. I wasn't sure if he'd be here. I'm going with my guy, Crunch the Wolf.
Really? Okay.
Me and Crunch, we're both from 96, so kind of similar timelines. He is actually named after the candy bar. They released Crunch Howlers with miniature size Crunch bars in them when he came out. And then seeing him in person, I would probably been to 10 to 12 games at Target Center. I don't know, probably closer to 8 to 10. And I will never forget the year in which, was Paul George and Jordan Hill going up against Pekovic and another ragtag of Wolves. And that arena was probably 5,000 people. But man, Crunch got up on a ladder with a drum and he hit that thing as hard as he could. All audio in the arena silence, and he poured his all out. There was 5 billion people there. So I mean, the fact he made it through that was cool. He's known to go sledding down the stairs, is pretty neat. And he just has not been around for a lot. And the fact that he is still going to hit his drum in lieu of their success, in lieu of the heartbreak, I'd say, is what wins him over in my heart. I'm going with Crunch the Wolf.
I don't have much to say about Crunch because I saw Crunch when I was looking at the pictures, and I thought, this is the most friendly, least intimidating wolf I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you picked up a theme. I did not do this on purpose, but I mean, he bangs his drum, Bison plays the drums. So I'm just saying too, we have kind of some cohesion. So I guess if we ever have a battle of the bands with the mascot, mine would probably, I would feel have some favor. I feel like I have a bunch of
battle of the bands,
too.
But is that what we're trying to go for here?
Well, I would say that mine have some punks. I have a skater, with Chuck, I have this guy that's kind of a hippie with the Bison that's out for the greater good of the other Bison. I mean, I like my mix of entrepreneurial spirit too with the Coyote, with not his finger cannons, his t-shirt cannons. I don't know why that came out. And, I feel like there's good diversity on my team of stars too, where
Yeah.
we're all across the animal kingdom with the gorillas and the coyotes. Like wherever you're at, whether like you're in California or you're like, I don't know, in the Congo, you might need one of my mascots. I don't know why you would need them, but they would be ready and prepared. So I'm feeling good.
Okay, you got your 6th man. Who you picking?
I wasn't ready for a 6-man.
I told you that when I
man.
texted you, and I just said it
I
like 3
know.
times on the podcast.
Okay.
I have to get you.
I am going. Well, here's my thing. You told me that, and then in my head, I went back and forth on a few retired mascots. And so I'm going to go, though, with Hugo the Hornet.
Okay.
Mascot of the year 2007 and 2014. And he's actually known for a Ring of Fire stunt in which there is significant property damage. And I like some punks on my team in 08. And it's funny, but right before right before Hugo debuted, Hurricane Hugo actually came about. So he's kind of like this cool thing representing surviving like a storm. And, I think he's like athletic. He's a survivor. He's witty. He's not necessarily starter material, but like, for a 6-man, maybe some John Furphy potential.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
I know Jay Query like always hates on Hugo the Hornet. Like I got to ask a question about Hugo the Hornet being the most boring mascot of all time.
What in the world?
I know. I'm like,
okay. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT. I want to read about his 08 stunt a little more than maybe one query over. He had this crazy thing with like some fire in 08. There was a playoff game between the Hornets and the Spurs, and he launched off a trampoline through a literal ring of fire. But here's the mishap. The arena staff used the wrong fire extinguisher who couldn't put out the flames, so smoke began to fill the arena. Floor was covered in slippery chemicals. Game delayed for probably 19 minutes, and like the NBA executive Stu Jackson had to cancel the halftime show and fine the Hornets.
oh wow.
And Barkley loved this. So he was saying that Barkley was on during this playoff game saying that he was gutless if he didn't keep the stunt going after. And like the whole night after that, Barkley was just calling on it to happen again. So I just love it too, because like he's just kind of ornery. I kind of like that whole thing. And just the whole event management side of it's pretty funny. It's quite the spectacle. Like where it's just like it's not an NBA moment in 08 that many of us remember, but the fact that it happened, I think that might have been the year Chris Paul was almost MVP and they made their conference. No, wait, yeah, it was around then because it was before he got renamed. Like because he's had the split time between teams. He was with New Orleans before they went with the name change. He moved back to Charlotte. I think that even solidifies the pick even more. The fact that he's had the split time between two cities, I think, is remarkable as well.
No, that is really interesting because I saw that they brought him back, which I think is great. So I'm all for it. I'm going to go to my last pick here for my 6th man. And this is in honor of my guy, Facci. Because we know who Facci truly loves deep down in his heart. It's the Washington Wizards. And we're going with G Wiz. Final pick. This is a crazy pick to me. I was torn between him and the Raptor. I really was. I thought about the Hawks mascot as well. I was torn between those three because you mentioned how high paying the Hawk is, and he's very high flying, but I feel like I have a lot of players like that. But I feel like G Wiz and stuff could really steal the life of the party because they're almost similar. But he is a menace, and he is voted as the mascot that has the best kicks, the best sneakerhead mascot in the NBA. They said he's a little awkward and sporadic. Still the life of the party, bringing the energy to Capital One Arena every game. You may see him shooting T-shirts from a hoverboard, riding his ATV, pranking the opposing team, or just shaking his belly. No matter what he's doing, don't hesitate to ask for a photo, as he loves making new friends and catching up with old ones. So you need someone to kind of distract the opponent. I think G Wiz has what it takes.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna say something nice and then something bad. So like, he does have pretty good shoe game. He does mix up his shoes to match his wardrobes and such. So I will just say, out of all these mascots that we've read about, the fact that he was the best sneakerhead in the NBA by Nice Kicks, I think is quite remarkable. I don't know how many other mascots have got named Sneakerhead. I think that's neat. I just don't like, the trend that I'm seeing where like I don't like the mascots with the hula hoops in the middle. I know Bernie down in Miami has it. You have the same issue with Clutch down in Houston. You have these mascots like with these weird hula hoop things, and they'll sometimes like shake their hula hoop bellies like with the fans and stuff. And I think it's kind of weird. And if they are not hula hoops and they are in fact legitimate like abdominal, I guess you could say issues that these mascots are having, I will say that if we were like doing survival of the fittest, I do like my team as they are prepared for the outdoors a bit more than G-Wiz and stuff. But like I'm not here to shame them. Because they do have the real magic, and who knows, maybe you don't need that fitness if you have real magic. So I kind of just beat myself. You could say I put one of G-Wiz's sneakers in my own mouth with that statement, but I just wanted to bring that up with the lore. It's like a slight disturbance.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I was torn between a few, like I mentioned. We picked 12 out of 26, so I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, we did good.
And I feel like we got a lot of them. Is there anybody that we didn't draft that you were dying to talk about potentially? Because Clutch was one that I thought about too for the Rockets, but I'm just not a big fan of him. I just think he's kind of annoying.
So the Pelicans team did a great job for Pierre going through with his nose job. If anyone's not familiar with this, Google it. The initial Pelican that the Pelicans like rolled out was quite frightening, like worse than like Boomer and Alex at the Children's Museum. He was legitimately horrific. And so they had to have this Pelican have a nose job. So they did this whole bit on social where he went under the knife and they wrapped it up and they rolled out an entirely new mascot. I think it's cool that they admitted that they messed up, that they freaked people out, and that they just played it up and executed. I think anytime you have some egg on your face, laughing at yourself is a great place to start. And they did a really fun way interacting with fans on social media and other outlets with Pierre's nose job. And I will say, if not for Pierre's birthday, I might have not met Chuck. I wanted to bring him up. That was the last bit I had, though. That was the last thing. I got to get out a lot of the other lore.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add because all of my knowledge of mascots besides Boomer was happening in the last hour. So as you were giving me information and I was looking things up before we came on this podcast, I did not know much about any of these mascots. I went based off of strictly looks and what I know about them from previous conversations I've heard on other podcasts.
You got to hear this, but I forgot to mention this. So like the links where these sources were cited have since been outdated. But allegedly, Blaze the Trail Cat was out about his way, and he was adopted by the Portland Humane Society. And Scottie Pippen gave him a home with the Trailblazers back in his run in the 2000s. Wow. So I think it is cool. He still advocates for humane societies. So I think that's a pretty noble thing. If you picked up on this trend with me, whether it be Rumble taking the hit for the other Bisons, I like to see the greater good prevailing. Scottie Pippen and, Blaze coming together to advocate for the Humane Society is a good thing, too, out there in Portland with what they have going. So I had to call that out. I think that was cool. I
love it.
That was the only other bit.
I will say, if Gentry knew as much about Jay Huff as he does his mascots, this podcast could have been a lot more entertaining. I'm just kidding.
Yes. No. Hey, the 10th best shot blocker in 2K. Who am I to speak?
Hey, but you also said, I haven't watched a single minute of Jay Huff, whether it was on the Grizzlies or the Nuggets. And then,
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least you're being transparent. We don't want anybody coming on here and lying to us like they know anything about Jay Huff if they haven't watched it. And I mean, that's fair. I appreciate that. But I will say this. Gentry and I, in about 25 days from now, we'll be traveling to Ohio to watch some John Mayer live. So I'm excited about that. Gentry's excited about that. And I will just say this. If you're a John Mayer fan and you're listening to this podcast at this point in the show, please let us know in the comment section below or email me at alexgoldenba@gmail.com your top 4 John Mayer songs. I would like to know what I should be listening to and just kind of get your vibe for Mr. Mayer. And me and Gentry have started a playlist together that we're collaborating on.
Yeah.
Just so we can enjoy some Mayer before we go hear Mayer live. I think it's going to be great. So,
Here's the one concern, though. Like, if Sir Cece comes from Cleveland all the way up to see John Mayer, I'm going to be freaked out, man. Like, honest to God, that man, I'm not cool with him. Like, I'm cool with John Mayer, Sir Cece. He's the Cavaliers. One of the Cavaliers mini mascots. I'm down the vibe with John Mayer and Moondog, but if Sir Cece makes his way into the concert scene, I don't know.
What's wrong with Sir Cece? Creepy?
If you have to ask, you already know. I mean, if you did a quick search, but I'm just saying, he's enough of a repellent to me to be apprehensive. It might be like I have some of that fear you had of Boomer. I share that same fear with Sir Cece. So let's just hope that we get to enjoy John Mayer without his presence or cavaliering around the Youngstown area.
Yeah, well, we don't really care about Sir Cece's in Indiana, just Lady Cece's, Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Cooper. So with that being said, Pacer Nation, we thank you all so much for tuning into today's show here on Setting the Pace, where we talked a little pace at the beginning, but we spent most of our time doing a mascot draft. As it is Labor Day, figured it would be fun to do something a little bit off the wall. Facci and I'll be back, and Gentry mentioned some of the 2K stuff from Jay Huff. Me and Facci are going to dive into some rankings this week on Setting the Pace and look at where we rank the Pacers starters in terms of individual players amongst other individual starters. So if you're looking at point guards in the NBA, where does Andrew Nembhard rank amongst other starting point guards in the Eastern Conference? Where does Benedict Mathurin rank amongst other shooting guards in the Eastern Conference? Same for Aaron Nesmith, same for Pascal Siakam. And then we'll probably just have to kind of figure it out there with the starting centers, whether it's Ijax or Jay Huff. So it'll be fun to kind of navigate through that. I'm sure we'll have other conversations as well, but that'll be some fun stuff to just look at when you're looking at the landscape of the Eastern Conference. So with that being said, Pacer Nation, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, whether you're watching it on YouTube. Hit that like button as well so people can find this video. If you're listening on the audio side of things, please subscribe as well and give us a 5-star rating and review, and let us know what you guys think about Setting the Pace. So with that being said, Pacer Nation, we'll talk to you all tomorrow. Peace out.
Setting the pace, going to the top. Setting the pace, going to the top. This is your number one podcast. Sleeping every team, we gon' need a mop. Smooth.